Well, good morning again. It is good to see your faces. I'm so happy to be back, and it is a joy. And I tell you, singing that song, can we thank our worship leaders for leading us? They did a great job. That song that you just sung, maybe it's new to you, maybe it isn't, but that is straight from John 14. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And so I love that we sang that. That was an important verse to me as I was making a decision to recommit my life when I was a college student. So I'm just really grateful for us getting to sing that song together. I hope we're going to sing it a lot more times. Great song. Thank you. Summer's over. How about that? Kickoff. So before as we get ready for the message, I want you to turn to the person beside you and share the very best thing you did this summer. Go. All right, must have been pretty good because you're still talking. I love it. That's great. All right, good summer, it looks like. Well, we had a great summer in the Crumpler house. Thanks for all your prayers. We got our daughter married off to our new son-in-law, John Paul. There they are. They weren't having fun at all. I mean, can't you tell? It was terrible. It was a very sad day. It was absolutely joyful, and we kind of cleaned up pretty nice. So we have our Christmas card picture. Hallelujah, right? Okay, so thanks for your prayers, but thanks also for your prayers as I was away on my summer study. If you're newer to Grace, you know that I go away for several weeks during the summer, and I pray and seek God's face, and I'm always reminded how powerful this book is. And so it's a joy to get to study, and I'm very excited to bring back all the things God's been teaching me over the summer. It's good to be back. I really do love this time of year, and for me, I even love getting stuck behind school buses because it just marks the change of the year. I love it that whether you're dropping off a kindergartner or a college student, those tears are behind us, and I love this blessing of the backpack. Wasn't that incredible to see all of our kids and to pray for them? Yeah, let's shout out that. That is awesome. I'm reminded so powerfully, though, that time just goes. Do you get that? I mean, it goes. Here we are, another school year. And with another school year cycle comes another cycle of applications. Our son is up to his eyeballs in applications for his residency match. And I ran into some of our seniors going down. They got their last backpack tag. Let's hear it for our seniors. Yeah. And you guys, the Common App is already open. So, applications. There was one high school senior who was applying to her dream school, and she was filling out those applications. This school had supplemental essays. And the last one was, "Are you a leader?" That was the question. And her heart sank because she knew really that wasn't her thing. And so she decided to be honest, and she wrote no. And she turned in her application. And so she thought that getting into her dream school was gone. She had about this much chance to get in. She waited and she waited. That's what you do with applications, right? And she waited some more. And finally the response came. She opened up that email knowing that it was bad news, and here's what it said. It said, "Dear applicant, a study of the application forms reveals that this year our college will have 1,452 leaders. We're accepting you because we feel it is imperative that they have at least one follower." Right? It pays to be honest. Well, how would you answer that question? Are you a leader? You know, we really value leaders in our culture, and we also really are skeptical about leaders in our culture. If you go to Amazon and you look for a leadership book, you can choose from 50,000 books. 50,000. When you fill out your college apps or you update your resume, it is all about leadership. Today we're beginning a new series, and it's not on leading, it's on following. See, Jesus' first conversation with people as he launched his ministry was an invitation not to be a leader, but to be a follower. Jesus said, "Follow me." Now, it was very common back in that culture where you would seek out a mentor or a teacher or a leader. You, the potential disciple or mentee, would go to your rabbi leader that you hoped would accept you, and you would ask, "Could I please be a follower?" But Jesus, like he often does, he turned everything upside down. And Jesus is actually the inviter. Jesus is the asker. Jesus says, "Follow me." For the next 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at the times when Jesus gives this invitation. We're going to look at how Jesus explains it and how people respond to it. And of course, what I'm praying is that you will ask yourself the question, am I a follower? Have I heard Jesus' invitation to follow me? Here's the very first time that Jesus asked this invitation. Matthew 4 says this: "While walking by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus saw two brothers, Simon, who's called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, 'Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.' Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and Jesus called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him." Peter and James and John and Andrew that day were doing what they had been doing for years. They were raised by a fisherman, they were raised to fish, and they were doing it. They did it every single day. And into their everyday world came Jesus with this invitation. Now, you should note that Jesus didn't ask them when they were in the synagogue. They weren't at church. Jesus went to them where they were, and he invited them. He said, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of people." And in that seemingly simple invitation, Jesus is saying a lot. Follow me. Literally, that means in Greek, come behind me. In Greek, it's an adverb. It's not a verb. It means behind me, come behind me. See, Jesus isn't giving this invitation on the shore of the Sea of Galilee for them to keep listening to him and do nothing. Jesus is inviting them to act. He's inviting them to an action, not a passive response. See, you can't follow Jesus and do nothing. But there's more. When you say yes to following Jesus, Jesus is going to get into your business. Jesus said, "Follow me and I will make you." Jesus is getting ready to do something in their life. When they say yes, they were giving up control, they were giving up their plans, and they were getting behind Jesus. See, wherever Jesus went, they would have to go. And Jesus was going to mess with them. He was going to be at work in them to turn them into something new. He was changing them from the inside out. And then this last phrase, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. When they said yes to Jesus, when they said yes to this calling, then they got a commission. Jesus says, I want you in on what I'm doing. He says, you're not going to catch fish anymore. You're going to catch people. Now, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in English, but in Greek, it would have the sense of rescuing. Jesus was saying, you're going to be a part of rescuing with me. You used to catch fish and then they'd be dead. But now you're going to catch people who are coming to life. You see the difference? What an amazing thing. Jesus is saying, I'm going to rescue people in every way, and you're going to help me. Follow me. And ever since this first time, Jesus has been inviting people. Following Jesus isn't a one-time decision. It's an everyday decision to come behind Jesus. To follow Jesus into a new way of life. To follow Jesus into the world wherever you are, into your school or your neighborhood or your gym or your work, wherever you are. You're following Jesus. You're behind him. Following Jesus. Following Jesus. You know, this is the most important invitation that you are ever going to get. Following Jesus is a new way of life. It's Jesus' invitation to the life that you were made to have. And it's what we want for you here at Grace. We break down that invitation that Jesus gives into our own Grace discipleship pathway. This is what we want to happen in your life. First, we want you to know grace. That's the first part of Jesus' invitation. Follow me. See, you've said yes to Jesus. You believe that the grace that Jesus showed you when he gave his life, we're going to talk about that later, changed your life. And you want him to be your leader. That's knowing grace. But we don't want that to stop with just knowing in your life. We want you to grow in grace. That's the second part of Jesus' invitation. I will make you. We want you to grow. Again, this is not a passive decision to be a follower of Jesus. It's active. You've got to do something. And you're going to see all these groups that we're launching beginning next week. We want you to find one because we know you need to be in a group if you're going to grow. There's all kinds of groups, all different days of the week. Find one as you're walking on this discipleship path. But it doesn't stop there either. We want you to show grace. See, once you know what Jesus has done in your life, you want other people to have it. And that's Jesus will make you fishers of people. He is calling you, if you are a follower of his, to be a part of helping other people become followers. You've got gifts that no one else has. You meet people that no one else is connecting to. And God wants to use you to help them find the grace that you have found. See, in every season of history, Jesus is bringing together a team, just like he did on the shores of Galilee. He brings together a team of people to be a part of what he's doing. And we believe that we're part of the team for the Lehigh Valley, so more and more people know the Jesus we love. So here's another way of saying it. When you follow Jesus, you fish. You fish. It's just part of what you do. But before you get to any of the rest of that, this first step is so important. Follow me. Follow me. Have you said yes to that? Let's go back and look at the way these first disciples responded to the invitation. Maybe you noticed. After Jesus says, follow me, and I will make you fishers of people, what happens next? Immediately, they left their nets. Immediately. They left their nets. Now, they'd left their nets before. Every day, they cleaned up. They left their nets and they would come back to their nets. So jury's still out with that phrase. We don't know. But keep reading. And then it says this. Immediately they left, of course, the nets and the boat and their father. You get it? This isn't a day. This is a change of life. They said yes to. They were leaving their past, and they had said yes to following Jesus. Now, hearing all this and even seeing this graphic up on the screen, maybe you're thinking, I'm not much of a follower. I really do like leading. That's not my thing. Well, let me push a little bit on you. Everyone is a follower. There is someone or something that shapes your life, that makes your decisions, that sets your priorities. And it can be a lot of things. It could be your career. It could be your spouse. It could be something horrible that happened in your life that shapes your life. And you feel like a failure and you're ashamed. Or it could just be yourself. When Jesus invites you to follow, he is asking you to leave following everything else and to follow him. Now, some of you know this about me already. I am incredibly directionally challenged. Incredibly. I mean, ask Mark, ask my kids. I mean, literally, if I think we're supposed to go this way, it's clearly this way. I mean, I still have to plug in my phone how to get to Costco. 7 years I've lived here. I still don't know how to get to Costco. It's real bad. So when Apple Maps came out, man, this was a game changer for me. You can plug it in, and whether you use Apple Maps or Google Maps, right, you get the same thing. You get options. But you got to choose one way. There are these options, and maybe you get to choose fewer turns, or faster, or you don't want to pay tolls, or you don't want to deal with traffic. But eventually, you gotta choose. You gotta choose. You know, that day on the shoreline, the disciples had to make a choice. They could have stayed. They could have gone back to the nets. But they didn't. They chose to follow. They could have missed out, but they didn't. They chose to follow. They had to make a decision. And I love that Matthew tells us this. It says they did it. Do you remember that word? It was twice. Immediately. Now, I don't know if I did it immediately. I think God had to work a little more on me. I don't know how you did when you first heard the call of Jesus in your life. Did you do it immediately? But that's what we heard they did. They did it immediately. Yesterday I was catching up on the news and praying about our world, which is a mess. It's never a good idea to read the news these days. So COVID's back. There's another hurricane. The earthquake in Morocco is just devastating to me. Over 1,000 people died. And that's just what's happening in our world. And I look out over this crowd, and I know some of your stories. I know some of the things you're wondering about. I know some of the things you're worried about. I know some of the things that consume you. I just know a few of them, and it's overwhelming to me. And I also know the things that are in my heart that I'm thinking about, and that's overwhelming. See, with all the stuff going on in the world and all the stuff going on in your heart, you need something big to follow. You need someone trustworthy to follow. You need someone worth following. You need someone to follow when you go through the really hard stuff, and you need someone to follow so you can savor the really good stuff. And if that's going to work, it's got to be someone bigger than you to follow. But I got to tell you, it's so easy to settle for less. You can choose to follow a news outlet. Pick one: Fox, CNN, MSNBC. You can follow your portfolio. You can follow your emotions. Or most sneaky and dangerous, you can just follow yourself. See, Jesus says, follow me. That means you leave everything else. You get behind Jesus and you let him chart your life and your decisions. Here's another way to describe it, and I took parts of this idea from Ray Ortlund. It's like you have a boardroom in your heart. I mean, imagine it, a big table, leather chairs, coffee, bottled water, whiteboard, all that. And in that boardroom in your heart, there's a committee sitting around the table. And the committee are all the things that compete for your following. There's the social self, and the private self, and the work self, and the family self, and the sexual self, and the recreational self, and the religious self, and on and on and on. You could probably figure out who's sitting at your table. And they argue, and they debate, and they vote. They can never agree on which way you should go, or what you should do, or how you should live, because they want you to follow their agenda. Jesus doesn't want to be part of your committee. He won't be. His invitation is for you to follow him. He wants you to come behind him. See, if you are going to say yes, if you're going to follow Jesus, there may be something you have to leave. There may be something you have to drop, because Jesus will never settle for being one of the things that you follow. Now, when Peter and Andrew and James and John that day, when they said yes immediately, which is remarkable to me, do you think they fully understood what was going to happen, what they were in for? Absolutely not. Do you think they knew how great it was going to be? Do you think they knew how demanding it was going to be? Do you think they knew they were going to give their life? They didn't. But if you say yes to being a follower, if you're today considering saying yes to being a follower, you're not going to know everything. But my prayer is you won't miss it. Don't miss it, Grace Church. See, this invitation that Jesus gives is the greatest adventure. It's the thing that you were meant for. My favorite movie is The Incredibles. You seen it? I highly recommend it if you haven't. Classic Pixar. Tells the story of the Incredible family, but there's a lot of it having to do with Mr. Incredible. And he has been demoted. He's disguised. He can't be a superhero. And he's living as Bob Parr. Here he is at the office. And he is bored. He can't stand, he's so dissatisfied. He's so bored. He never really fits. In fact, you see him there, he barely fits in his office. And when he goes home every day, he's in this car he can barely fit into. And every day when he comes home from work, he's in a terrible mood. A terrible mood. And this day, he's in a particularly bad mood because he gets out of his car, slams the door, and trips over his kid's skateboard. And as he does it, he sees this neighborhood kid And he says to the neighborhood kid, "What are you waiting for?" The kid answers, "I don't know. Something amazing, I guess." And Bob Parr, meant to be Mr. Incredible, says, "Me too, kid. Me too." See, the invitation to follow Jesus is an invitation to something amazing, and you are missing it. Your life won't be full without it. See, Jesus in his invitation has plans for you. He wants to give you a life, the best life that you could ever have. The life that you were meant for. But it'll only come when you give your life and your plans and your nets to him. It'll only come when you get behind him. Now, the next weeks, we're going to talk more about what that looks like. But it might mean a change of your job. It might mean a change of your priorities. It might mean a change of the way you spend your money. It might mean you getting off the sidelines and getting into the action. But here's what I know it means. It means that you will follow Jesus with every part of your life. That he will be the committee that shapes everything you are and everything you do. And that doesn't stop with you. See, once that's happening in your life, Jesus' dream is that you're catching fish in your office, in your school, in your gym, in your life. But all that starts with a face-to-face encounter with the powerful Jesus. You can't phone it in. You can't be passive. You can't stay on the sidelines. And you can't just read about Jesus or watch a worship service. No, you have to get behind Jesus. You have to leave your nets and your boats and follow. We're about to take communion together. And before we do that, would you just hear the invitation of Jesus? Would you hear it? Would you meditate on it for just a moment? In fact, close your eyes and do it. It'll shut everything out. Hear Jesus saying to you, "Follow me."